zone and in.
Hobart. Jones. She'll set Mack for the championship. Yes! 5 in a row. La Cueva is the city's best yet again.
Open guy.
There's a big move by Rodriguez. Look out as he's down the sideline. A cut shot out of a cannon. Ivan Rodriguez. He's got all the speed. Can he break away inside the 10 to the 5 and in? Touchdown.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Hey, welcome back to Steve Davis Show. We have Ed Nunez, the new voice of Western New Mexico, and you have an interview here with Frank Tristan, and let's just go into that, and we'll critique you after it's all done.
Great.
Welcome to Altamirano Field on the campus of Western New Mexico University. These are your Mustang Minutes. Ed Nunez along with Western New Mexico head coach Frank Tristan. Coach, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ed.
You bet. Coach, last week the Mustangs dropped a decision, 37-31 to Ottawa out of Arizona. I know it was a game filled with some penalties, some turnovers. Tell us about how you felt the Mustangs played.
Well, obviously, if you look at the stats, we didn't do poorly, but our execution on those little things was dismal, really. And I think nobody feels worse than us as coaches because we allowed it to happen. And then, obviously, the players feel terrible because they made some mental errors. But Ottawa is a good team. You make those errors because somebody puts pressure on you. And I think ahead of the time we thought, all right, we're gonna come out and really play well. And then they punched us in the mouth. And everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And then we had some miscues and very unfortunate timing on some of those miscues. And Coach Nesbitt and his team did a great job of capitalizing.
125 yards of penalties, I believe, turned it over 3 times, and it's hard to win any football game like that. So talk about those miscues and what you've done in practice. You played Northern Arizona this Saturday in Arizona, and what have you been working on in practice this week to minimize, again, any game comes down to who makes the least mistakes, and what have you talked about in practice this week?
Well, really, maybe to take something from Toby Keith, a little less talk, a lot more action. We wanted to execute. Anybody can talk about being better, talk about not making mistakes, but that's just potential. We want production, so they've got this Saturday to prove themselves that they can make it work. So we've just been executing in practice, and so we got to get confidence.
How was this week's practice? Sometimes when you go into a locker room, you know that you kind of beat yourself in some areas of the game. You mentioned Ottawa's a good team, and they did a good job. We're not taking anything away from them. But what has the attitude been like at practice this week?
We've had one practice so far. We missed a Sunday and a Monday kind of workout because we attended the funeral, and so that's been an emotional thing. So then we came back to practice yesterday, and the guys responded well. We had good energy. And we're still banged up from a game, but I was very pleased with it. Our coaches, the big thing too is players reflect coaches. Well, the coaches had good energy. They weren't having their head down and frustrated, and so we got good work in. Today is going to be the big one. If we can have good energy in Wednesday's practice, that's good.
Today's game plan day. Is it the game plan day today? You put the game plan in, or you already put the game plan in?
We've already put that in. This is our heavy work day, and then tomorrow we kind of finish up some stuff.
What concerns you about Northern Arizona?
They've got a great QB that's super accurate, and so it's he's accurate, and he's got some good guys to throw to. So it'll be a challenge. He doesn't get out of the pocket much, so we want to keep him contained, and we've got to get him out of the. He's got to throw the ball before he wants to. That's the big thing. So we're gonna have to find ways to pressure, and we're gonna have to find ways to give him different looks so he doesn't get super comfortable, because he's good enough that he can pick you apart. And then defensively, they're very athletic and they've got great speed. But Coach Hansen, he always has something up his sleeve, and we'll compete.
As you do as well, I'm sure, Coach. Talk about your own personnel. You put up 31 last week. You gave up 37, but again, we mentioned the turnovers and the penalty yardage. Talk about your own personnel, and how do you think you might hurt the Lumberjacks?
Well, I do think we can get the ball to – you look how many receivers caught the ball for us. We can get the ball in some playmakers' hands. One of the things, if you look back from last year, it took us – I think we had 5 rushing touchdowns on the year, and I think we had 3 on Saturday. So much better running between the tackles. So I'm pleased with that, and we're going that direction. But, personnel-wise, we've got some athletes, and the best thing about our team that I love is they don't give up. They continue to fight. Things weren't going well, they're going to continue to compete. And that's what we're trying to do, because at the end of the day, that's the thing you can control.
Right, it's control what you guys do, and that's for sure. And you've got a game. It's tough to go on the road. In this second week in a row to go on the road. You'll return here next Saturday to play Central Washington, a game that we'll have on ProView Networks. But it's tough to go on the road. It's different. You have to be better, minimize, as you mentioned, the turnovers and the penalties, things like that.
Yeah. No, it's always a challenge to go on the road. And last week was just a challenge because it was our first time on the road together. This week we'll have a better itinerary, and I think the guys will be more comfortable and prepared.
This is your second year of first year of your recruiting class.
Yeah.
Right, you were here. This is your second year as the head coach. How has that made a difference? Again, you came in, according to the athletic director, Scott Noble, you came in a little bit late, weren't able to get some recruits in, but this is the first year of your recruits. Mm-hmm. How has that made a difference for the Mustangs?
I'm very pleased with our recruiting class. Our coaches did a great job of recruiting the area, New Mexico, Phoenix, El Paso, and so we've got a good local kids. We have a good parent base that care about our program. But the problem right now is chemistry, because you're taking what we tried to do last year and instill, and then you're bringing in just a lot more. Typical recruiting class, we're looking at 25 to 30. We had close to 45, 50, so it's just different. And so we've got to expedite the chemistry process, if we will, and that's a goal of ours.
You got to teach the system. It's a whole thing, different thing to new recruits coming in. You had a summer's worth of 2 days. You're preparing for a season. You lost your first game. This is your second game, but it has to make a difference with you having people that you recruit. That has to make a difference.
Yeah, and it does. But, I think our guys have done a great job. The returners have done a great job of welcoming those guys in, and we just got to learn each other, and that takes a little bit of time.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Talk a little bit about your offensive philosophy. We've got a couple minutes here on Mustang Minutes. Talk a little bit about your offensive philosophy.
Coach Hansen is our offensive coordinator, and him and I have worked together and for a long time. Matter of fact, we played football together, and our heart is that we want to get the ball spread out to a lot of different guys. We want to use multiple formations, use tempo. But at the end of the day, if we're doing well, we love to run the football. You run the football, and then that opens up play action in the RPO game. And, and then we have some outside receivers now that have good height. So when you get in trouble, you've got an outlet there. So that's kind of our philosophy. We definitely want to establish the run game. And this year, at least we feel much better in the run game. We got 2 senior running backs. And then we've got the athletes on the outside that can make a team play us balanced.
Talk about your quarterback a little bit. I believe he's a lefty.
Yeah.
Talk about your quarterback a little bit. And you mentioned, again, all these different formations. Offensive coordination now is so different, right? The RPOs, it's even at the pro level. You guys must have a lot of fun drawing these plays up for the next week. New little wrinkles and packages and personnel groupings. Yeah. Talk about your quarterback a little bit.
CJ did a great job. And
CJ, his last name?
CJ Fowler is the one that started for us this past Saturday, and he did a good job. And once again, we had some drops. It's kind of funny, you don't think about it, but the ball spins the reverse way now. So, it takes a little bit of use. Hey, does this look different, for receivers? And that was frustrating. And so we've got guys on the jugs machine every night, tennis ball machine, because we got to fix that. But CJ made quick decisions. I'm sure, coming out of the game, first thing he said is, it's on me. So he understands the leadership role. and I'm sure there's some things he wishes he had back. But overall, I mean, I thought he made quick decisions, and that's the thing. You got to have a quick trigger in our league, because you don't have much time back there to sit and dissect everything.
Really, in probably any league, you're under pressure. There's so many reads, progressions you have to go through. We've got about a minute left, Coach. Talk about your defensive philosophy and your defensive coordinator.
Yeah. Coach Gretsch and I was on the defensive side of the ball, and I actually coached Coach Gretsch when he was a linebacker for me a long time ago, and he's done a great job. And we kind of want to do this: keep it simple yet significant, subtle changes. So we don't want guys to line up wrong, and we want guys to be able to play fast. And that was the disappointing thing, is that we had a couple misalignments and a couple misassignments that really frustrates us.
Gap assignments or missed gap assignments? Or
yeah, just covering
just
the wrong guy.
assignments, period. And that happens. Things can go awry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Coach. I'm sorry.
No, and we had two big gains that they had against us on Saturday, and it was just because we weren't aligned right, and sometimes we make football more complicated than it is,
Right. Yeah.
Hey, guard the guy in front of you,
Block, tackle, don't fumble. Yeah. but I can understand that because, again, it's, people want to see different wrinkles and everyone's, I get it. I do. Keep going. I'm sorry.
No, and so that's the one thing. We've just got to get back to the basics, and the same thing in our game plan this week is we don't want our players to have to think so much that they slow down. Because a slow defense is not a good defense. So we want to be aggressive, and we want to be fast.
Coach Tristan, best of luck against Northern Arizona this Saturday. We'll see you next Saturday, September 20th, for the game against Central Washington.
Cool. Thanks, Ed.
You
Appreciate
bet.
it.
These have been your Mustang Minutes on ProView Networks.
Well, Ed, that's something you have already added so far to this, to your being an announcer, is the Mustang Minutes, something you and Tom Dragmeister came out of your hat.
That's all Tom Dragmeister. That's all Tom Dragmeister, and it was a great idea, and it just flowed. When we started the interview with Coach Tristan, it was as if Coach Tristan and I knew each other for all our lives. We connected real well. I really like him personally, and of course, we're going to be rooting for the Mustangs against Central Washington this Saturday. Central Washington comes in with a record of 0-2. I feel it's a game the Mustangs can win. But again, that's all Tom Dragmeister. I'll give him all credit for that. That was a great idea.
Well, we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about Western New Mexico Mustangs.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
The world-famous Laguna Burger is beautifully handcrafted. A burger that's created from certified Angus beef, sinfully cooked to juicy perfection, and garnished with New Mexico's Hatch green chili. Tempt your taste buds with mouth-watering fresh ingredients.
Cut! We're gonna need another Laguna Burger. Try the irresistible, world-famous Laguna Burger. Visit thelagunaburger.com. It's fresh with a kick. Take 32.
Hey, welcome back to Steve Davis Show. Special guest again, Ed Nunez, the new voice of Western New Mexico. And your first week's coming up. I mean, it starts this Friday.
We got the volleyball match Friday at 4:30 against UT Perryman.
We'll be on Comcast Channel 26.
The football game is 12 p.m. against Central Washington from El Toronto Field. I can't tell you, when I was watching the interview with Coach Tristan, it hit me. Like, hey, you're getting to do college, man. And where I started, where I started with Henry T. And it was a long climb up.
Well, if you just kind of look at your background, Yaffle, I mean, you did a lot of Yaffle games, and you got more and more games with ProView Networks on football and baseball and basketball, volleyball. You've actually become a well-rounded announcer.
Boxing and rugby, even for a while. And you know what, Steve, I want to thank you. It's going to be a great opportunity. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited. When I saw the interview, it made me realize, hey, this is college. The Mustang background. Josh Brown, who does such a great job, and all the producers work so hard. So I'm stoked, man. When I saw that, I was like, hey, it kind of hit me. This is college. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, what's neat is here in the future, there's going to be a lot of Thursday volleyball games and then Saturday football games, but Thursday night's going to be, and then you're going to have a show kind of on Fridays, and Saturday you have, sometimes you're going to have a double hitter of both volleyball and also football. So it's going to be some pretty good weekends.
The way I look at it is this. I was wondering, what was I going to do with myself? I'm retiring December 1st from the city. And I was kind of worried about that because, you know, I'm a busy guy, right? I'm a busy guy. But then I thought that's my job for at least the next 6 months. That's my job, and I'm going to be busy with that. So I couldn't be more excited. I really am. Can't wait.
Well, you know, volleyball, who's volleyball played this weekend?
UT Perryman.
And then football?
Central Washington. Central Washington, 12 o'clock, out to Morano Field.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, and I just know I've seen your notebook, you know, you've already breaking the players down, you're breaking down stats, you're breaking down almost everything. It's kind of, you know, when we were down there, you know, Scott was, and the people, you said hospitality, but here's the thing, they're excited about ProView and you, and we're excited about Western New Mexico. So it's kind of really a lot of good energy going right now.
You know what, I couldn't agree with you more, and that's what I felt when we went down there. The energy, you mentioned the energy, and when you are dealing with people like Scott Noble and the hospitality, Aaron Pettis, you know, the SID, and I think that's the thing too, is in-game stats. I'm getting in-game stats, so I keep people abreast of what's going on with the game. You know, with ProView Network, sometimes we have to do our own, and that's kind of hard sometimes. But at the college level, you have a sports information director, and Aaron Pettis has been absolutely marvelous and giving me any information that I've asked for. So it couldn't be any better.
Well, you know, it's like you said, don't forget that when you do a high school game, you're not going to get those stats.
No, sir.
So
I understand.
I don't want to hear.
No, I understand.
You have to do your homework on that.
I will.
You know,
I
maybe in you know, as we get more sophisticated and get more people working, we'll have those things. But just don't get too spoiled.
Oh, no.
When you're and then come back to me. Oh, I gotta go do a high school game for ProView Network. So.
You know me. I'll do them all. It doesn't matter. I'll do them all.
Well, I know that, but hey, if anybody, what a great opportunity for you, great opportunity for ProView Networks, and one thing I do know, Ed, is you're going to put your heart and soul into it. It's going to be passionate, and it's going to be a great experience for you.
I'll tell you one thing, Steve. I think you know me well enough to know that is for sure 100% heart and passion, 150%, if you will. So yes, sir, I will.
Well, Ed, thanks for coming on the Steve Davis Show, and good luck with Western New Mexico.
Thanks so much, Steve. I appreciate it.
ABQ ER and Hospital is changing the way you see ER in Albuquerque. We promise to see each patient within 10 minutes of arrival. ABQ ER and Hospital is now offering $25 school physicals, with 100% of proceeds donated back to the schools.
To win the race, I can't even explain how life.
Wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as best customer